What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Got Next podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Baldwin, with my co-host, Donovan Moore.
Yes, sir. What's going on, fellas?
Nothing much. Ben and Bones, Nate Ashley. What's up, man?
Hey, how y'all doing? Ready for another fire week in the NFL?
Absolutely. Not too many weeks left, man. We got more weeks gone than forward than we got left. So we're definitely looking forward to this week. It's week 11. We got a lot of different matchups to get to this week, a lot of key matchups this week as well. So make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, all of that type of stuff. And without further ado, let's get into the intro.
Three-pointers. Outside jumper from three at the bucket.
All right, bet. So before we get into any matchups this week, we got to go over the bye weeks, of course. We got the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Giants, and the Bucks on bye. Make sure you set your lineups accordingly. We already had this matchup happen. Does anybody want to say anything here as far as the Commanders and the Eagles? Dono, I know this is your team. If you got something to say, I'm going to let you go first here, brother.
Nah, it ain't much to be said, man. Tough L. Defense did their thing, but, the offense didn't really step up and do their part. So they got a huge stretch coming up. They need to win these next three against some lower 500 teams. I think they got Dallas, the Titans, the Saints. Those are must wins, honestly, if you want a shot at the division. So it's about the bounce back at this point.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, B?
I predicted the Eagles would win in a close matchup, kind of like they did. They just had the more experienced, explosive roster, but nothing for Commanders to hang their heads low about. The two-game skid is rough, but like Nano said, they have a winnable stretch towards the end of the season. Got to win games like an injury-riddled Dallas team, and a couple of those mediocre matchups like the Falcons. It'll be interesting to see how they do in matchups like that.
Yeah, definitely. Now that you said it, I think them versus the Falcons is kind of like it. Just you want to see kind of where the Commanders are at this point. Like their record kind of tells you that they're elite, but I think that they got to be able to get a couple dubs here. Is it true that you guys have not won a game against a team over 500?
That's cap. We beat the Cardinals.
Okay, cool. I mean, that's what people are saying online. So.
Yeah. Nah, I mean, they beating the teams they're supposed to beat. So,
okay. All right, yeah, for sure.
I mean, but everybody gonna have something to say always.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. It's the NFL, man. Like none of these games are given. You're not gonna win out, so it is what it is. Next up, man, our first matchup, I guess that we're covering on the show today. We got the Packers and the Bears. B, how you feel about this one? Long storied rivalry here.
Yeah, long story rivalry too. The OG Stadium still holding up strong. Lambeau Field and Soldier Field. However, the team playing in Soldier Field, the Bears just are not holding up strong. They're crumbling down. They're a dumpster fire. As predicted, they got rid of their OC after last week's atrocious performance at home against the Patriots. The Bears they're hibernating right now. Let's just put it that way. They're finished. Stick a fork in them. Caleb Williams does not look good. It's not to say he won't bounce back next year, but this year's a wash for him. Packers are a much better team, and that their defense and their proved offensive, consistency is going to prove to be too much for the Bears this week, who are struggling on all sides of the ball, including coaching, obviously.
Yeah, I'm going with the Packers in this one. Coming off a bye week, probably a much-needed bye week for the Packers. Going against the Bears here, who are just going in a completely different direction. And historically, the Packers have owned the Bears at least since I've been watching football. The Bears haven't really had much success against the Packers. So I don't think that will start on Sunday. I got the Packers.
Yeah, I think I got the Packers in this one. Even though I kind of do want to bet that the Bears have a bounce back. B, I guessed it last time, when the Vikings had their interim head coach. I mean, not the Vikings.
Saints.
The Saints had their interim head coach, and they came out and got a dub. I don't know. I feel like teams just rally around when something happens. If somebody gets fired, people are underperforming. So I'm like, I feel like the Bears might actually come out a little bit motivated. The Packers are inconsistent as well. But I think I am ultimately going to go with the Packers here, even though my mind is telling me to go with the Bears. So next up, we got the Jags and the Lions. Mac Jones versus the Lions. Anybody picking Mac Jones here?
it's gonna be atrocious. Lions won a game against the Texans where Jared Goff threw 5 picks. Like, if you can't lose a game with that, you're not losing to Jacksonville at home.
All righty. Next up, Mac Jones. We got the Raiders and the Dolphins. Is anybody picking the Raiders in this matchup? I think Gardner Minshew is starting this week.
No, the Raiders are another team that's just an absolute dumpster fire, headed towards like their 6th rebuild in 7 years, something like that. Yeah, they're stick a fork in them as well.
All right, we got 2 anticipated matchups coming up later, so I promise the matchups will get better. The Rams and the Patriots. Is anybody picking the Patriots in this matchup?
Give the Patriots a little credit for winning a couple games, but in the play, Drake May's been inspiring, I guess. But Rams just lost a tough one to the Dolphins at home, an upset that I accurately predicted. But I do think they bounce back here because they are just obviously the better team, and the Patriots do not have much of a roster, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Rams, man. It's not much to do.
For me, though, I think this is a little bit of a big game for the Rams. That their record's not, significantly great at this point. They got to start stacking wins. So, I mean, this is a game you have to win. I mean, you lose this, and it's like, don't know what's going to happen with the season. Naku and Kupp haven't looked, significantly great since they've both been back. So, looking for a bounce back for them this week. We got the Browns and the Saints. Nasty matchup here. Yeah, it should be a lot of interceptions, though. So, who's going to win this game?
In the Jameis Winston return to the Superdome matchup, we'll go with the Saints. I think they ride this wave with their new interim head coach and just prove to be a little better than the Browns. But I think it'll be a decent game, I guess.
I'm actually going to take the Browns. Jameis going back to New Orleans. They wouldn't give him the starting job. They chose Derek Carr. He might be a little motivated this week. And then Jameis is up and down. So I believe when they played the Chargers, he threw like 3 picks. Terrible game for him. He's going back to New Orleans in the Dome. I actually the Browns winning this one.
Yeah, I actually have the Browns as well in this matchup. I do believe in the interim head coach stuff, but I do also believe it only lasts for about a week. That's as much as I've seen. So I'm going to go with the Browns in this matchup. And talking about anticipated matchups, this is the one that we're talking about. This is the one that gets the people moving, get them turning to the channel. B, how do you feel about this matchup, the Ravens and the Steelers, man?
Man, I'm excited for it. It's always a hard-fought matchup between these two teams. I expect it to be more high-scoring than it's been the past few seasons, just because it's the kind of league we're in. Steelers historically have done really well against Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. However, the key factors that they're together this time, so it's going to make things a lot harder in that sense. As Dono did last week, he wanted the Commanders to beat the Steelers, but he picked with his gut and with his analyst hat on. And unfortunately, I'm going to do the same here. I think the Ravens win this matchup. And one of the reasons is just they're just on a losing streak against the Steelers, and I think you can't hold on to a long rivalry winning streak like that forever. So I think the Ravens do get us this time, but hopefully, we'll bounce back against them in December or just win tomorrow.
Yeah, this is a huge game. Honestly, this could come down to who wins the division. And since Lamar has been quarterback of the Ravens, the Steelers are one of the few teams that have been excellent at defending Lamar Jackson. Even last year with Kenny Pickett, I believe you all beat a Lamar Jackson-led Ravens team. So your defense is usually what gets the job done here. And the Steelers have been playing a lot better football with Russell Wilson at quarterback for them. Going back home with that crowd, I want to take the Steelers, but I'm going to go Baltimore. I just feel like the Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry combo, that's really tough to stop. And the Ravens look like they're starting to catch a little bit of life with their passing game too. Mark Andrews has come alive these last few weeks, saved Flowers in football. And who knows, maybe Deontay Johnson might do something Sunday as well. So I'm going to go with the Ravens. I feel like the Derrick Henry X factor really helps, but this is going to be an excellent game. I wish it was the Sunday night game, honestly.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with the Ravens here, even though I do think the Steelers are, formidable opponent. Their offense, I don't think just can stand with the Ravens right now. And then I don't know if we've seen really a bad game from Russell Wilson yet. I feel like it might happen here, if I'm being honest. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, ultimately I'm going with the Ravens. Next up, we got the Vikings and the Titans. How you guys feel about this matchup?
The Titans are just so bad offensively. I feel like their defense actually is pretty good, but you saw the Jaguars only let up 12 points to the Vikings last week, and the Vikings still won. So I think, Will Levis against the Brian Flores coached defense of the Vikings has mismatch written all over it. And I think the Vikings continue to win with Sam Darnold. And you got that man, Jay Jettis, who's just the best receiver in the NFL. So hopefully he keeps lighting up the scoreboard for fantasy purposes.
Yeah, I got the Vikings as well. I feel like a lot of these games down the stretch are going to be huge in the NFC just with how great the Lions are doing. The wild card seeding can get a little tricky. I think the Vikings only have 2 to 3 losses. Washington is in the mix with 4 losses. You got the Packers with like 3 losses. So seeding can get very critical here. So the Vikings are going to take care of business, beat the Titans.
Yeah, I also have the Vikings beating the Titans. Not much to talk about here for me. The Colts and the Jets, 2 middling teams. Anthony Richardson is starting again for the Colts this week. Does that change your opinion on who wins this game, B?
Man, the Colts kind of look like the same team with either of them. I honestly think it's weird how they started Flacco, but their next 2 games were against the Vikings and Bills, both games that they were expected to lose, and they're going to make the change after losing both of them. That's like they wouldn't have won either of those games with either quarterback. Flacco probably did give them the better chance, to be honest. That was an upset, that pick that I had last week that I was dead wrong on. I'm going to go with the Jets here just because they're at home. And, I mean, they're pretty pathetic, but I think they just get a win at home here. And I think the Steelers really got to, as well as they've done this year, they got to sort of regret losing to the Colts and Cowboys in back-to-back games because both of those teams look like they're headed towards rebuilds. The Colts, it's going to be interesting to see what they do after this season. Do they give up on Richardson? Do they give up on Steichen? They probably keep him after this year. But, yeah, these are 2 organizations that are in a whirlwind right now. So, I mean, I'll go with the home team here.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the Colts gained from benching Anthony Richardson in kind of a lost season. Maybe they thought Flacco, if he would have won one of those games, could maybe have them in wild card contention. But I'll take the Jets in this one. This is really a tough game to pick because it's like you don't know what Jets team you're going to get, but you don't know what you're going to get from the Colts here. But I'll take the Jets. Their defense is solid. They can maybe force a couple turnovers. Yeah, there's not much to say. I'll take the Jets.
Gosh, and I hate to go on a limb here. I really feel like I want the Colts, though. Give me the Colts. I don't take too many chances. At the end of the season, I'll take a little bit of one here. Yeah, I don't really know why. If I'm being honest with you, I feel like the Jets are just kind of like they're going out there and just like, we'll just see what happens. And I feel like the Colts defense is low key underrated. I feel like they play hard every week. I feel like they're kind of close in a good amount of their games. So I think it'll be a hard fought game. Also, Anthony Richardson, I feel like it wasn't a thing about his play. I think if he just kind of sucked and like hadn't said what he said about being tired on the sideline, then he would have been starting the last couple games. So he kind of had to do something as far as the locker room there. I feel like they didn't feel too good about that situation. So now he's back in. He's actually had a couple weeks rest because he's been on the bench. So I think he might be fresh. And then like he's talking about being more consistent. So you might see a good week from Anthony Richardson. I don't know. But I don't know why. I'm going with the Colts here. Next up, we got the Falcons and the Broncos. The Broncos looking pretty good, actually looking like a decent team here. Will they beat the Falcons?
They played the Chiefs now on the wire last week. I'm sorry. And it was 1 week after getting blown out in Baltimore. So I think and the Falcons are just very inconsistent as predicted. They're not in a division that it takes much to win, but it looks like because they swept the Bucs that they're in the driver's seat to win that division. But I do think the Broncos use their altitude advantage and their defensive strength to stifle Atlanta. I just think, it's one of those games where they're lucky to be the home team here. And I think they're competing heavily for that last wild card spot in the AFC. So I think you got to win games like this for that. And that's why I think they ultimately win this game.
Yeah, this is a tough game. Home field advantage definitely does play a factor for the Broncos here. Devastating loss last week to the Chiefs, I feel like, but they do have a strong defense. They're at home. Actually, I'm going to go with the Falcons. Falcons, I believe in Kirk Cousins. He's been playing a little better since the injury. Drake London has been very solid for them. And then I feel like that's lost to the Saints. that kind of woke them up a little bit. So the Falcons going west. They got a solid defense. I think they'll get the job done against Denver.
I don't really know I don't know who to pick in this matchup, if I'm being honest. But
pretty mid matchup.
All I know is Patrick Sand's going to have a day. Drake London's probably not going to do much. This is a Darnell Mooney week. But then you think about, they still have Bijan and Tyler Algier too, so they have other weapons. They have Kyle Pitts. So I will also go with the Falcons here. Reluctantly, I think the Broncos have a pretty good chance to win this game, but I think overall I like the Falcons team a little bit better. But Drake London's going to have a rough day for sure. Next up, we have the Seahawks and the 49ers. I know who I'm picking here. B, who are you picking?
Another, long-lasting rivalry game. Niners just look like the better team. They beat them pretty handily in Seattle on Thursday night about a month ago. The Seahawks really look like they're falling apart. I know they just had a bye week, but I think with McCaffrey back, the Niners are obviously he kind of had a mid-game last week. But that makes sense for being out as long as he has. I think he's only going to get better as long as he stays healthy, and he's obviously a whole other dimension to their offense. So Niners already beat him in Seattle without him and without Jordan Mason for most of that game. So I think they get the job done at home here and start rising the rankings and make a playoff run here.
Yeah, I got the Niners as well. They're starting to get healthy. That was a solid win for them against Tampa last week. Baker put up a fight, but I think the Niners are going to start rallying now, taking a hold on the division. So I think they'll get the job done.
Yeah, the Seahawks are just so bad, honestly. Geno Smith looks like he's back to being a pumpkin. Or since it's November, we can say being a turkey. The brother just looks trash out there. They've been messing up snaps and stuff like that. Like, just the Seahawks offense is just terrible. And honestly, for the names that they have, it shouldn't be as bad as it's been. But yeah, the 49ers are getting healthy again. No reason to pick against them. Next game, here we go. The Chiefs and the Bills. Probably the biggest game of this week besides the Ravens and Steelers, because I think the Ravens Steelers kind of has a clear winner. Don't know who's going to win this game, honestly. I have a good feeling here. B, who do you think is going to win this game?
Man, there's no one more excited for this matchup, I promise you, than Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. I think they've been on this game for the last several years, and obviously these teams have seen each other 3 times in the playoffs since the rivalries kind of ensued. It's really kind of treated like the Brady Manning matchup of this era. Just every time Josh Allen and Mahomes get together, it's a promising game. I was honestly about to pick the Chiefs to have them continue to be undefeated, but they have a very significant injury heading into this game, and that is no other than their kicker Harrison Butker. And I feel like when these games are razor thin like they've been the last several years, I think not having Harrison Butker is pretty huge. And I know the Bills have a couple injuries on offense. I'm not sure if Amari Cooper is going to play or not. So that makes it tough too. But the Bills have been pretty good at beating the Chiefs in the regular season over the last few years. And I'm looking at the Chiefs' schedule, and I'm like, if they're going to lose a game, it would make sense for them to lose to Buffalo. What's funny is the last 3 years they've lost to the Bills and have always ended up with except for last year, a higher seed than them. So it hasn't, and they still beat them in Buffalo. So it hasn't mattered all that much. But I'm going to go with the Bills here. I'm kind of going out on a limb. We'll see if it happens. And the Bills win this game, there's a pretty good chance they'll get the 2 seed because they already have pretty much run away with their division.
Yeah, this is going to be a very great game, a tough game. And I'm going to go with Buffalo in this one. I just feel like with Buffalo, they have the regular season success against the Chiefs. If it was the playoffs, most likely going with the Chiefs here, of course. But with the regular season success Buffalo has had against Kansas City, and I feel like they kind of have gotten by the skin of their teeth on a few of their wins recently. So it's not to say the Chiefs still won't be the 1 seed, but I think they'll just lose this week to Buffalo. Just off of Buffalo's regular season success against them recently, nothing to do with postseason. So going off of that, they're at home. The crowd will be hyped. I'm going to go with the Bills.
Gosh, I just made this difficult. I had the Chiefs the whole time. But you know what? I'm still going to go with my heart and go with my head. Going with the Kansas City Chiefs, man. I'm rocking with my guy Mahomes, man. Even I know the Bills are going to have out Kincaid and Coleman. They're not going to be there. So I think Cooper and Shakir are going to have big days. I think Dawson Knox is probably set up to do a couple things, maybe score a couple touchdowns. So yeah, if he's out on your waiver wire, go pick up Dawson Knox. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with the Chiefs in this matchup. Should be a great game. I think everybody will be locked in on that one. Next up, we got the Bengals and the Chargers. The red hot Bengals playing the Chargers' good defense for most of the season. Who wins out this one, B?
Man, this is a hard matchup to pick because the Bengals are on life support right now. Like they're grabbing those life vests because they need them. You know, they can't really afford many, if any, more losses. And losing a game like this to the Chargers, you know, kind of pushes them out of that playoff picture. Obviously, that last seed that could go to like Denver, them, possibly the Jets or Colts, but doubtful. Like that's what they're playing for at this point. It looks like the Chargers are probably going to get wild card. It seems like they're going to get that 5 or 6 seed, depending on what the Steelers do the second half of the year. But this is a tough game to pick because you got two good quarterbacks. I think Burrow's a little better, but the Chargers had that number one defense, and Jim Harbaugh, the culture changer that he is. You know, it's a good test to see if they can win a game like this at home against a high-powered offense like the Bengals. The Bengals are going to play desperate, though. It's really, really hard, man. I do not know who to choose, honestly, but I'm going to go out on a limb and pick the Chargers. It's crazy to think because I know Joe Burrow's kind of the comeback kid. You don't count him out, but this team just does not look like they can handle big dogs or good teams this year. So I just don't have faith in the Bengals defense. They look terrible against everybody.
I'm going to take the Bengals in this one. I feel like this is kind of like a season-defining game for Cincinnati. They were in the game for the most part against the Ravens. 2-point conversion call. I mean, I feel like they kind of had to because their defense probably wouldn't have been able to stop Lamar. So that was a smart call. And the Bengals have been in a lot of close games this year. They just haven't been able to win those close games. So I think this game right here, it kind of defines their season and see if they'll be able to get that last wild card spot, how you were saying, B. So I think they'll go to LA, get the win. And who knows how the rest of Cincinnati season can go. But I think they'll definitely make a push for the playoffs. So I like the Bengals.
Yeah, give me the Bengals. I think that them desperate backs against the wall, I think they got to I don't know. I think they'll be motivated. Jamar Chase was ridiculous last week. I lost my fantasy matchup on Thursday, which was that hurts. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Bengals. I think that they're just hungry. And, I think the Chargers can afford a loss if the Bengals cannot. Next up, the Battle of Texas. This does not look quite like what we thought it was going to look like heading into the season. But, B, who you have in this matchup?
I mean, I'm going to pick the Texans, but to be honest, they do not look good. They're going to kind of like the NFC South. The AFC South is kind of like that NFC South AFC division. You know what I mean? Like usually the 4 seed every year. Going to play the best wild card in the first round. Cowboys are just too injured and probably have already thrown in the season. To be honest, they got to think about how they're going to address this offseason. Micah Parsons, pretty much calling out McCarthy or saying he doesn't really care for him. That just kind of signals to me that locker room is in shambles. And he doesn't have a contract yet. So, I mean, I think the Cowboys are going to re-sign him. But if they do, they pretty much can't spend another cent. So, I mean, maybe since they're a low draft pick, they try to draft his replacement. Who knows? Or maybe there's a game-changing edge rusher out there. I'd have to look more into that. But it's big decisions for the Cowboys this offseason. And the Texans are on a 2-game losing streak right now. So, it's very important to them that they win this game.
Yeah, I got Houston in this one. I think this could be like kind of a bounce back game for them. They've been struggling these past few weeks. It might be a game to kind of right the ship, get some things right. They got Nico Collins back. So I like the Texans in this one.
You're right, Dono. I did get Nico Collins back. Welcome back, baby. But I think Joe Mixon has actually been a bright spot for them. And I think the Cowboys' run defense, we talk about it every week. They suck. And I think Joe Mixon is going to have a day, if I'm being honest. Nico Collins is going to be out there, so, he's going to get a couple catches too. I think C.J. Stroud he's going to have his weapons out there. I mean, if the Texans struggle in this game, you got serious issues. It's beyond just the weapons at that point. And, yeah. So, ultimately, I'm going to go with the Texans. And that's going to do it for all the matchups this week. Does anybody else have anything to add?
No, sir.
We'll catch you guys next week. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to our TikTok and our Instagram at the God Next Podcast. Man, we've been back active on TikTok. Bennett was wilding last week, so we had to get him on there. But make sure you tune in next week, guys. We'll catch y'all then. Y'all have a good one.